Hello guys! So today I'm going to give you some tips for your writing essay in IELTS Task 2. Some of you have asked me for very interesting questions, so I will try my best to answer everything clearly so you can quickly put it into practice in your writings. So we'll speak about the way or the best way to actually learn synonyms correctly, taking into account the context and the usage depending on the situation. You know that there are some alternative words to some vocabulary that they're not 100% synonyms. They could be an alternative in one specific situation, but is not for all types of situations. So we'll look into that. We'll also see the best way to create a topic sentence at the beginning of your paragraphs in the body for your essay, and also how to create generalizations without making over generalizations. So in that way, you can get more than band 6. Then I'll give you some advice on how to avoid repetition of words and ideas, especially with the articles like this, that. So you always have to refer back to the keywords in the topic, but we need to try to avoid this repetition of the topic sentence. So let's dive in. One of the questions was how to build topic sentences to introduce the subject of the paragraph. So the first thing you need to bear in mind is that you always have to keep it short and on topic, meaning that you need to use the keywords from the very beginning here. So there are two ways that you can do this, and obviously you could just use it once or twice maximum, due to the fact that you just have to write 2 or 3 paragraphs in your body. So you just need it for the main body here, not for the introduction and not for the conclusion. So one of the things that you could do is by using what I call advanced passives. So that is that you take the key idea of the task, having money or technology or whatever it is. So for example, working together or environment, these kind of keywords of the task, and you use that at the very beginning of your sentence, followed by a passive that is always with the to plus infinitive form. So is believed to bring as the infinitive, or is considered to be vital, so be as the infinitive form. So in that case, if we analyze it, you are presenting the idea of the topic together with a passive that builds your topic sentence around the subject that you want to develop with further examples or explanations. So after you say having money is believed to bring happiness, then is when you start explaining it. So this is because, or due to the fact that, okay, and you give your explanation, and then you present your example to support this explanation. So this is illustrated by the fact that, and then you give an example, or for instance, this and that. Nice. Or technology is not considered to be vital. You can make it in affirmative or in negative in this day and age, because, and then you give your explanation and finally your example or a result, a consequence. From this is clear that this and that, or if you want to bring the example, then you develop it in that way. Another way to build your topic sentence would be with a connector at the beginning and then an impersonal structure. Obviously, this is like in the second paragraph of your body when you are contrasting or you are adding more information, like furthermore or however. If not, just the first paragraph in your body would be with an impersonal structure. It is worth mentioning that having money brings happiness, or many people feel that technology is vital in this day and age. Or it may be said, it may be claimed that having money brings happiness. So all of this is a way to build your topic sentence at the beginning of your paragraph. Then for the second or the third paragraph, it would depend on how many ideas you can actually come up with. You will use the connector. However, or furthermore, it is a common belief that having money brings happiness. Or however, it is a common belief that technology is vital in this day and age. Or furthermore, it is argued that having money brings happiness, or it is argued that technology is vital in this day and age. So as you can see, you can just place it around. My advice, what I tell my students is that in one paragraph, you start with an advanced passive, and then in the second paragraph, you bring down the connector within personal structure. I think that that's the best way to smoothly move on from one topic sentence to another, so from one idea to another. And you avoid repetitions, and you're giving variety of grammar structures, which will be very positive to bring up your band score. Right, so another question that some students ask me is how to actually write or create a topic sentence when you actually want to give 2 points or 2 ideas about that subject. So it depends on the 2 points that you actually want to bring up. If it is a contrasting idea, or if it is 2 causes or just 2 reasons, I would use different connectors. But everything comes down to the good use of linking words. So, speaking about contrasting ideas, you can start with although. So, although it's widely accepted that country life can be much healthier than city life, it cannot be denied that entertainment and other essentials are not so easily available as in the city. So you're bringing up 2 ideas, the countryside, the country life and the city life, right? Another one, while, and then also, while technology clearly has the most dramatic impact on people's lives, other sectors also have serious impacts in terms of health, education, and entertainment. So you've got here again 2 contrasting key points. So one is technology, and then the other one is other sectors, right? And in the first one, although it is widely accepted that country life, then it cannot be denied that as city life. So it's the 2 points in one topic sentence. Then is when you explain yourself, you give examples, and you support this idea, this topic sentence by explanations. This is because, or on the grounds that. When you give 2 causes or 2 reasons or just 2 ideas, I always tell my students to use not only but also or as well as. It's quite easy and quite straightforward, so I always recommend it. For example, not only can animals be good companions, but also they teach children a sense of responsibility. Or pets can prove to be good companions as well as teaching children a sense of responsibility. So that's into the both ideas. Regardless of the fact that country life can be much healthier than city life, then the second idea, entertainment and other essentials are not so easily available in the city. Just with a comma, you structure the 2 points. Don't forget the comma, because that would be a mistake for punctuation, and in this case it's quite crucial to remember to use commas to separate both points in this topic sentence. Another way, while it is true to say that country life can be much healthier, in fact, entertainment and other essentials are not so easily available as in the city. Or to say apart from, and you divide the 2 points here, apart from being time-saving devices, comma, computers can do things which people could hardly do before. For example, that one. And to speak about referencing, remember that the substitution of the keywords from the previous sentence, it is when you repeat that keyword straight away. So, for example, if I say alternative medicine makes use of natural products rather than drugs, and then I say, what's more, alternative medicine is not tested on animals. So as you can see, I'm repeating the keywords, the key idea, alternative medicine. So instead of doing that, I will use it or this, just because the previous idea I mentioned was alternative medicine. So you need to be careful with that. It has to be straight after it. That's when you actually could substitute the keyword for a pronoun like this or it. Otherwise, you would have to keep using the keyword, which is not bad at all, but just, try to avoid these kind of repetitions. Another way could be just by using this means that, okay, or you use this instead of alternative medicine, for example, or the use of alternative medicine. In this sense, and then you explain yourself, by doing so, this expression means if you do this, this will happen. So by doing so, comma, this will happen, right? Then obviously you could say this is because to introduce your explanations, but if you really want to be advanced and move towards the Band 7 score, then the best thing is to join the sentences using linking words. For example, instead of starting the new sentence after the topic sentence in the paragraph, and then you say this is because, just try to join both sentences together with on the grounds that, which has the same meaning as this is because. For example, many people object to smoking. This is because passive smoking can be extremely harmful to one's health. Instead of using these two sentences, one is the topic sentence, many people object to smoking. So that's my impersonal structure, and the keyword of the task is smoking, right? Instead of then introducing a new sentence for my explanation, I just join both sentences. Obviously, you can only do this when your topic sentence depends on one idea and not two ideas, as we saw before here. If it is about 2 points, definitely you need to start a new sentence with this means that, or in this sense, or by doing so, or this is because, all right? You could never join it together because that sentence would be too long, okay? I'm speaking about doing it with these short ones, okay? With the advanced passive or the connectors with impersonal structures, as it is in this case. Many people object to smoking is the same as many people feel that smoking is wrong. Yeah, that's the same meaning. So after that sentence, that impersonal structure, I could continue the sentence, join the sentence with the use of a linking word on the grounds that it can be extremely harmful to one's health. So in this case, I'm doing two things. One is the referencing. It can be extremely harmful. Why? Because the last word that I've mentioned was the keyword smoking. Many people object to smoking, that's the key idea, on the grounds that it, meaning smoking, okay, because it's just right before the replacement, right before the pronoun. It can be extremely helpful. So that's one way of doing it. Another one could be television is a highly entertaining medium. This means that it can also be an excellent educational tool. Instead of saying that, I could use a linking word. So, television is a highly entertaining medium in addition to being an excellent educational tool. So, to avoid repetitions, or one of the best rules to avoid repetition of the keyword is to link it with connectors. If you have more than one point in the topic sentence, then yes, I would recommend you to use one of these four structures at the beginning of the next sentence to explain yourself. Another thing is how to build healthy generalizations, right? To expand your reasons and examples. But remember that this is a fine line between a good generalization, a correct generalization, and an over generalization. So, good generalizations would be to use most, or the majority of, or some, other expressions like experts, people, but not all people or all experts. That would be over generalization. We can't say all students, some students, most students, the majority of students. That would be correct. And the same with statistics show. You have to actually mention where have you taken these statistics. So you could say, as a general rule, statistics show this. Or by and large, on the whole, in general, that's the meaning, in general, by and large, statistics show blah, 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 blah. Or, as a general rule, research has consistently shown that. So it's always with some kind of general linking word. All right. And finally, this is a very interesting topic. This is something that I mentioned before, but I will try to explain myself better and going step by step, okay? So imagine that you have found a new word. So what I usually tell my students is that usually you find new vocabulary by reading, okay? So you should read newspapers, magazines. This will be useful not only for your writing, but also for your reading, for example, because remember the reading IELTS test, it's a vocabulary test, and there is where you take most of your vocabulary, most of your new vocabulary, and it's the best way to increase your score. So when you find new words here, the best thing is to write them down and to find synonyms. So you can increase your vocabulary range. The best way to find synonyms is maybe you already know a similar word to that one that you found in the reading text, or you check it in the dictionary. So you check the definition and the examples, and you reflect on that. You think in what way they are using the new word in the sentences, what kind of context, what kind of situation, and you also pay attention to the definition, because usually the definition tells you in what situation, in what environment they would be using that word, all right? So you compare that new word's definition and examples, that new situation, with the word you already know, and let's see if you can 100% replace it. If not, if you find some situations where the new word and the word you knew are different, then you should write it down. You should write down that they are synonyms except for that situation or for this situation, because it is more formal, or because it's better to use another word or something like that. For example, in the case of detrimental, it's a very nice synonym of something that is negative, of something that is bad. However, you can't be using detrimental as a synonym of bad in all situations. 100%. You know that by the definition of detrimental and then the examples that you will see using detrimental in a context. So here you've got some synonyms of detrimental: damaging, harmful, prejudicial. Okay. Now, in what ways would you use, for example, detrimental? So, detrimental is usually something, not someone, right? This is something that we know for the examples. Can I say Peter is detrimental to me? Not really, okay? Because it's not causing harm or damage to someone, it's to something, all right? However, if we say bad, that could be for something or for someone. And in the case of hurtful, which is very similar to something bad or something detrimental or damaging, it's about pain. So as you can see, the definition is a little bit different from detrimental, that is harm or damage. One thing is harm or damage and another one is pain. For example, could I cause pain to the environment? No. So the chemicals have a detrimental impact on the environment, but we cannot say these chemicals have a hurtful impact on the environment because it's not causing pain, it's causing damage. So that's the main difference that you need to make when learning a new vocabulary word. Go to the dictionary and compare the definitions and compare the examples. Finally, something that many students ask me about the essay in IELTS is if you can actually use phrasal verbs. And as I say, it's not recommendable for you to use phrasal verbs in an essay because phrasal verbs tend to be very informal, so it's more for speaking than for writing, especially in the essays because the essay is quite formal. So you should try to avoid using phrasal verbs in an essay. However, it is true that there are some phrasal verbs that it would be okay for you to use. But as I say, it's not kind of like your priority to use phrasal verbs in essay. Try to avoid them. See you soon. Bye.